title, True Terrifying Paranormal and Ghost Scary Stories. In the heart of a forgotten village lay an ancient mansion, shrouded in unspeakable darkness. Locals whispered of its cursed grounds, where shadows moved with a life of their own. The air around the mansion was thick with a chilling silence, a silence that seemed to scream a warning to all who dared to come near. The story begins with a group of thrill-seeking friends, eager to debunk the myths surrounding the mansion, led by the intrepid Alex, whose curiosity knew no bounds. They embarked on a journey that would forever blur the lines between the living and the dead. As night fell, the mansion loomed before them, its dilapidated structure groaning under the weight of its own despair. Unperturbed, the group ventured inside, their flashlights piercing through the darkness, revealing the mansion's decaying grandeur. It wasn't long before they encountered the first sign that they were not alone. A cold breeze swept through the hall, extinguishing their lights and plunging them into darkness. The air was suddenly filled with the soft, eerie melody of a music box, its origins unseen. Panic began to set in as they stumbled through the darkness, the melody growing louder, more insistent. Shadows danced on the walls, shapes that seemed almost human, yet grotesquely twisted. Alex urged the group to press on, convinced that there must be a logical explanation. But as they delved deeper into the mansion, they realized that they were not merely observers in this story, but unwilling participants in a terrifying drama that had been unfolding for centuries. In the bowels of the mansion, they found an old library, its shelves laden with ancient tomes that whispered secrets of the occult. It was here that they discovered the mansion's dark history, a tale of a powerful family consumed by madness, their souls bound to the mansion by a sinister pact with the dark forces that lay beyond the veil of our reality. As the clock struck midnight, the line between the past and present blurred. The spirits of the mansion awakened, their anguished faces materializing in the shadows, their whispers filling the air with tales of sorrow and vengeance. The friends realized too late that the mansion was a prison, a place of punishment for those who dared to disturb its slumber. The doors that once welcomed them now refused to budge, the windows revealing nothing but impenetrable darkness beyond. In their desperation, they uncovered a ritual, a potential means of escape. But the ritual required a sacrifice, a soul to take their place within the mansion's cursed walls. As the spirits closed in, their intentions clear, the group was faced with an impossible choice. Who would stay behind to ensure the others' freedom? And even then, could they truly trust the words of the damned? The story ends as it began, shrouded in mystery. The fate of the friends remains uncertain, their screams echoing through the mansion's halls. A chilling reminder of the price of curiosity. As dawn approached, the surviving members of the group, now fewer in number, found themselves trapped in a seemingly endless cycle of night and horror. The mansion, alive with the tormented souls of its past, began to reveal its more sinister corners. Each room, a chapter of the macabre history etched into its walls. Alex, whose resolve had been unshakable, now bore the weight of their dwindling hope. The shadows seemed to cling to him, whispering secrets meant to fracture his sanity. In a desperate bid for answers, he led the group to the mansion's forsaken chapel, a place where light dared not enter, and the stained glass told stories not of salvation, but of damnation. The air within the chapel was suffocating, heavy with the scent of decay and old incense. At the altar, they found an ancient book, its pages bound in unsettling leather, the text written in a language that twisted the mind of anyone who dared to decipher it. The book seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy, compelling them to uncover its secrets. As they delved into the book, the chapel began to change. The statues of saints twisted into grotesque figures, their faces contorted in silent screams. The once holy water turned black, reflecting no light, and the crucifix at the altar inverted, casting a shadow that seemed to stretch and reach for them. The group realized the mansion was not merely haunted, but was a nexus of dark rituals and pacts with entities beyond their comprehension. Each room was a seal, and they had unwittingly broken several, unleashing horrors that had been contained for centuries. The sounds of the mansion began to crescendo into a cacophony of despair. The walls themselves seemed to breathe, and the very fabric of reality within the mansion thinned, revealing glimpses of otherworldly dimensions filled with unspeakable horrors. Among the chaos, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber, its entrance cleverly disguised within the mansion's labyrinthine architecture. Inside, they found a circle of stones, each etched with sigils that pulsed with an eerie light. At the center of the circle was a void, a tear in the very fabric of reality, whispering promises of power and threats of eternal torment. Driven by a mixture of fear and the desperate hope of finding a way to break the mansion's curse, they contemplated using the circle. But as they debated their course of action, the mansion seemed to anticipate their thoughts. The walls closing in, the darkness deepening, and the air filled with the sound of something ancient and malevolent stirring in the depths of the mansion. The group was now caught in a web of ancient plots and cosmic horrors, their every action seemingly manipulated by the will of the mansion. As they stood at the brink of the unknown, ready to delve deeper into the darkness, they realized the true horror was not what the mansion contained, but what it was a part of a larger, more terrifying reality, where humanity was but a plaything for beings of unimaginable power. Their story, a mere echo in the vastness of this dark reality, was far from over. The mansion, with its endless corridors and shifting walls, continued to lure the curious and the brave, its true purpose and the heart of its curse remaining shrouded in shadow. A chilling invitation for those daring enough to explore its depths, leaving the story tantalizingly unfinished, a haunting mystery awaiting the next chapter. In the suffocating darkness of the mansion's ancient library, the group's frantic whispers merged with the ghostly laments that seeped from the crumbling walls. The decision to perform the ritual was fraught with fear and desperation. The ancient texts spoke of a forbidden ceremony, one that could tear open the veil between the worlds, offering a sliver of hope for escape, but at a terrible cost. As they prepared the ritual, the air grew thick with a palpable dread, the shadows in the corners of the room twisting and writhing as if alive. The flickering candlelight cast grotesque shapes upon the faces of the friends, their features twisted in terror and determination. Alex, with hands trembling, drew the ancient symbols on the dusty floor, each line a silent plea to the unseen forces that lurked within the mansion. The others gathered around, their voices joining in a chant that echoed through the hollow halls, a sound not uttered by human lips for centuries. The mansion responded. A low rumble shook the foundation, as if the building itself was protesting the intrusion upon its dark secrets. The music box's melody grew frantic, its sweet tune now a harbinger of something unspeakably sinister. From the shadows, the spirits of the mansion's tormented past emerged, their forms more distinct now, their faces twisted in agony and rage. They circled the group, their whispers growing louder, a cacophony of despair that threatened to overwhelm the friends' resolve. As the ritual reached its climax, the boundary between the realms thinned. A chilling wind swept through the library, extinguishing the candles and plunging the room into an unnatural darkness. The air was charged with an electric terror, the kind that invades dreams and turns them into nightmares. In this moment of absolute darkness, the friends felt an unseen presence among them, a malevolence that defied understanding. It was as if the very essence of the mansion's horror had taken form, a culmination of every tragic tale, every life taken, every soul trapped within these walls. The ritual's final words were spoken, a desperate shout into the void, and then silence. The oppressive darkness receded slightly, a teasing promise of freedom, but the relief was short-lived. The mansion had one more secret to reveal. The library, once a room in a state of decay, now transformed before their eyes. The walls, once lined with books, now showed scenes of the mansion's past, each a living tableau of horror. The friends watched, frozen in terror, as these scenes played out the mansion's history, a history written in blood and betrayal. The realization dawned on them. The mansion was not just a prison for lost souls, but a sentient being, feeding on the fear and despair of those who dared to uncover its secrets. The ritual had not weakened the mansion's hold, but instead had given it the energy to manifest its true power. In this moment of horrifying clarity, the friends understood that their fate was not to escape, but to become part of the mansion's eternal story. Their presence had awakened something ancient and malevolent, a force that would not be satisfied until it had consumed them completely. As the living tableaus of the mansion's tormented past grew more vivid, the friends found themselves not just spectators, but participants in its dark history. Each scene played out a chapter of tragedy, and with every moment, the line between the present and the haunted past blurred further. In a desperate bid for survival, Alex and the group attempted to disrupt the ritual, scattering the ancient symbols and breaking the circle. But their efforts were in vain. The mansion's consciousness had been awakened, its hunger for fear and despair insatiable. The air grew colder, the darkness deeper, as if the very essence of light was being devoured by the mansion's malevolence. Suddenly, the oppressive silence was shattered by a scream, not from one of the friends, but from within the walls themselves. It was as if the mansion itself was in agony, its scream a symphony of all the souls it had consumed. The friends, driven by a primal fear, ran from the library, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls. As they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, the mansion seemed to shift around them, doors disappearing and hallways elongating into infinity. Whispered voices called out to them, tempting them with promises of escape, only to lead them deeper into the mansion's heart. One by one, the friends began to experience their own personal nightmares made manifest. Shadows took the shape of their deepest fears, preying on their minds, driving wedges of paranoia and distrust among them. It was as though the mansion was testing them, breaking down their wills, feeding off their terror. In a room shrouded in darkness, they found a mirror, its surface swirling with an otherworldly mist. Drawn to it, they peered into its depths and saw not their reflections, but glimpses of their own potential fates, twisted, tormented versions of themselves, trapped within the mansion's walls. Realizing the mirror was another of the mansion's traps, they turned to flee, only to find the room had changed once again. The door gone, replaced by a gaping maw of darkness. The air was filled with the sound of a heartbeat, slow and ominous, as if the mansion itself was alive, its very pulse a countdown to their doom. As they stood, paralyzed by fear, the walls of the room began to close in, the heartbeat growing louder, faster. In a final act of defiance, Alex lunged at the mirror, shattering it with a cry of desperation. The shards fell like rain, each piece reflecting not the room, but scenes of the mansion's past. Each a puzzle piece in the vast, unsolvable mystery of its existence. The shattering of the mirror brought a momentary stillness, a pause in the mansion's relentless assault. Seizing the opportunity, the friends found a hidden passage behind the mirror's frame, a narrow, winding stair leading into darkness. With no other options, they descended, the air growing colder with each step, the darkness almost tangible. The stair seemed endless, a descent into the very bowels of the earth, and as they reached the bottom, they emerged not into a room, but a vast underground cavern, its ceiling lost in shadow, the ground covered in a thick mist that obscured their feet. In the center of the cavern stood a stone altar, its surface carved with symbols that seemed to shift and change under the gaze, and around it the mist began to coalesce, forming shapes, figures. The spirits of the mansion gathered in a silent vigil around the altar. The friends realized with horror that this was the heart of the mansion, the source of its power, and they, drawn into its depths, were to be the final sacrifice to quench its insatiable hunger. As the spirits advanced, their forms becoming more defined, more menacing, the friends prepared for a confrontation they knew they could not win. But even as they stood ready to fight, the ground beneath them trembled, and a new, more powerful presence made itself known. From the shadows beyond the altar, a figure emerged, its form shrouded in darkness, its eyes burning with an unholy light. The master of the mansion, the architect of its horrors, had come to claim them. Within the oppressive embrace of the mansion, the living tableau of its dark past continued to unfold around the group, each scene more horrifying than the last. The friends, now prisoners of their own curiosity, found themselves separated by the mansion's sentient will, isolated within its labyrinthine corridors, each facing their own nightmarish reality. Alex, the leader, found himself in what appeared to be a grand ballroom, its beauty marred by decay and desolation. The chandeliers swung gently, creaking in the silence, as ghostly apparitions of dancers from a bygone era twirled in a macabre waltz. The music, a haunting melody that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, ensnared Alex's mind, pulling him deeper into the mansion's tragic past. He watched, helpless, as the dancers' faces transformed into twisted masks of agony, reliving their final moments over and over. Meanwhile, Sarah, the skeptic of the group, stumbled into a nursery filled with antique dolls, their glass eyes gleaming in the dim light. As she moved through the room, the dolls' heads turned to follow her, their expressions changing from innocent to malevolent. Whispers filled the room, the voices of children long lost to the mansion's curse, their laughter morphing into screams that echoed off the walls, a chilling reminder of the innocence the mansion had consumed. Mark, the brave heart of the group, found himself in a vast library, its shelves stretching into darkness. The books, bound in human skin, whispered secrets of dark rituals and forbidden knowledge. As he reached out to touch one, the room shifted, the walls closing in, and the books flew from their shelves, their pages fluttering like the wings of 1,000 disturbed bats. The words on the pages formed into threats and curses, a cacophony of voices that promised eternal torment. In the depths of the mansion, Emily, the compassionate soul, wandered into a dilapidated chapel, its stained glass windows depicting scenes of unspeakable horror. The pews were filled with the spectral figures of the mansion's previous occupants, their hands clasped in prayer, their eyes hollow with despair. As Emily watched, a spectral priest approached the altar, raising a chalice filled with a dark, viscous liquid. The congregation turned to her, their mouths opening in a silent plea, as if inviting her to join their eternal service. Each friend, ensnared in their own nightmare, struggled against the realization that the mansion was not merely a house haunted by the spirits of the past, but a sentient entity feeding on their fear. The rituals and dark practices that had taken place within its walls had imbued it with a malevolent life force, a force that sought to break their will and add their spirits to its collection. As the night wore on, the boundaries between past and present, reality and nightmare, began to blur. The mansion seemed to grow, its corridors twisting into impossible geometries, its rooms shifting and changing to reflect the darkest corners of their minds. In this realm of terror, the friends realized that their only hope of survival lay in finding each other and uncovering the heart of the mansion's power. But as they moved through the shifting halls, each step seemed to take them further from salvation and deeper into despair. As the night deepened, the mansion's malevolent grip tightened, its walls pulsating with an almost lifelike malice. The eerie silence was broken only by the distant sound of the music box, its melody now a distorted echo of its former self, a siren call leading the friends deeper into the heart of darkness. In the ever-shifting reality of the mansion, the friends found brief moments of respite, their paths crossing in the shadowy corridors, only to be torn apart again by the mansion's whims. In these fleeting reunions, they shared their harrowing experiences, their tales weaving a tapestry of terror that revealed the mansion's true nature, a nexus of unspeakable horrors, a place where the veil between the living and the dead was not just thin, but torn asunder. Alex, driven by a desperate hope to end their nightmare, led the group to the mansion's decrepit conservatory, a place where the boundary between the mansion and the ancient, twisted forest beyond seemed to blur. The glass panes, cracked and covered in a thick layer of grime, offered a distorted view of the gnarled trees that seemed to claw at the very walls of the mansion, as if trying to reclaim it. Here, amidst the overgrown foliage and the remnants of once beautiful statues, they discovered a cryptic fresco depicting the mansion's construction built not just upon the land, but upon a foundation of dark rituals and sacrifices, its stones soaked in the blood of the innocent. The fresco revealed the mansion's heart, a dark, pulsating crystal buried beneath its foundations, a source of its malevolent energy. Realizing that the crystal was both the source of the mansion's power and their potential salvation, the group devised a desperate plan to find and destroy it. Their decision was fraught with risk, for the mansion seemed to anticipate their every move, its corridors alive with the whispers of the damned, urging them to turn back, promising a fate worse than death for their temerity. As they descended into the bowels of the mansion, the air grew colder, the darkness thicker, the walls themselves seemed to breathe. A slow, rhythmic pulsation that echoed the beating of a monstrous heart. The path before them was littered with the remnants of those who had come before, their final moments etched in the very stone, a macabre warning to all who dared to challenge the mansion's might. In the deepest chamber, they found it, the crystal, its surface a swirling vortex of shadows, a captive abyss that seemed to stare back at them with a hunger beyond understanding. Around it, the spirits of the mansion's victims swirled in a ghostly dance, their faces twisted in eternal agony. As they prepared to shatter the crystal, the mansion unleashed its full fury. The spirits wailed in a deafening crescendo. The walls shook as if in the throes of an earthquake, and the darkness coalesced into a tangible force, seeking to smother their light, their hope. The friends stood on the brink of oblivion, their resolve the only barrier against the darkness that sought to claim them, the fate of their souls, and the secrets of the mansion hung in a precarious balance, the outcome uncertain, the path ahead shrouded in shadow. As the group stood before the pulsating crystal, the very heart of the mansion's darkness, they realized that their journey, fraught with terror and despair, had led them to this singular moment of defiance. The spirits of the mansion's victims, swirling around them, in a tempest of sorrow and rage, seemed to pause, as if bearing witness to the culmination of centuries of suffering. With a resolve forged in the crucible of their shared ordeal, the friends joined hands, their unity a beacon of light in the oppressive darkness. Alex, drawing upon every ounce of courage, stepped forward and raised the ancient artifact they had discovered in the mansion's depths. A hammer, its head inscribed with symbols of old, a relic imbued with the power to break the cycle of torment. As he brought the hammer down upon the crystal, a blinding light erupted, piercing the darkness. The mansion trembled, a groan of agony and anger that shook its very foundations. The spirits, their chains of suffering shattered by the crystal's destruction, soared upwards, their forms dissolving into light, their whispered thanks, a soft breeze that caressed the friends' faces. The darkness receded like a tide, revealing the mansion not as a monument to horror, but as a mere shell, its power broken, its halls silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a sense of peace that had long been absent from the cursed grounds. As dawn broke, the first rays of sunlight pierced the once impenetrable gloom of the mansion. The friends, weary but unbroken, stepped out of the mansion, not as the naive thrill-seekers who had entered, but as survivors, bonded by an experience that transcended the ordinary bounds of friendship. They looked back at the mansion one last time, its menacing silhouette now just a sad reminder of the past. The spirits were free, their tormented whispers replaced by the gentle rustling of the leaves, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of unspeakable evil. The friends parted ways at the edge of the village, each carrying the weight of their experience, a silent vow between them never to forget, never to let the darkness reclaim the light they had fought so hard to preserve. And so, the story of the mansion ended, not with despair, but with hope. The cycle of horror was broken, the mansion's grip on the land released. Nature, ever resilient, began to reclaim the once cursed grounds, covering the scars of the past with the promise of new life. But the mansion, its dark legacy sealed within its crumbling walls, stood as a solemn reminder of the thin veil between light and darkness, a monument to the courage of those who dare to confront the shadows, not with weapons, but with the strength of their spirit. And in the quiet of the dawn, as the world awoke to a new day, the music box, its melody, a lingering echo of the mansion's haunted past, fell silent. Its final note, a whisper carried away by the wind, a farewell to the true, terrifying, paranormal, and ghost-scary stories that once dwelled within. Title: The Echoes of Eldritch Hollow. Nestled in the heart of a dense, mist-shrouded forest lay Eldritch Hollow, a small town with a history as murky and twisted as the woods that enveloped it. Legend had it that the hollow was founded on ground cursed by ancient rites, its soil soaked in the echoes of forgotten chants and the blood of arcane sacrifices. The town's inhabitants lived in a delicate balance with the supernatural forces that whispered from the shadows, a balance that was about to be shattered. The story begins with the arrival of a stranger, a young historian named Clara, whose fascination with the occult had led her to Eldritch Hollow in search of forgotten lore. Armed with her late grandfather's journal, a tome filled with cryptic notes about the town's eerie past, Clara was determined to peel back the layers of mystery that shrouded the hollow. As Clara delved into the town's history, she quickly realized that Eldritch Hollow was no ordinary town. The locals spoke in hushed tones about the whispering woods, the sprawling forest that bordered the town, warning her of the spirits that dwelled within. Spirits that were said to be the guardians of ancient secrets. Undeterred, Clara ventured into the whispering woods, where the trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches clawing at the mist. It was here, in the heart of the woods, that she stumbled upon an ancient stone circle, its monoliths covered in indecipherable runes, a silent testament to the hollow's dark history. As night fell, the forest came alive with ethereal lights and ghostly whispers, the air charged with an unseen energy. Clara, her senses heightened by the palpable aura of the woods, found herself drawn to the center of the stone circle, where the ground pulsed with a faint, otherworldly glow. Without warning, the runes on the monoliths ignited with an eldritch fire, casting ghastly shadows that danced like specters around Clara. The ground beneath her feet trembled, and the air was rent by a sound not of this world, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to speak directly to her soul. In that moment, Clara was thrust into a vision, a glimpse into the past that revealed the true nature of Eldritch Hollow. She saw the ancient rites performed by the town's forebears, rituals that sought to harness the powers of the beyond, to bridge the gap between worlds, but their tampering with forces beyond their understanding had unleashed something dark, something that had lain dormant beneath the hollow, waiting for the moment to awaken. As the vision faded, Clara found herself back in the stone circle, the runes dark once more, their brief illumination a haunting memory. But the ground where the otherworldly glow had pulsed now lay a mysterious artifact, its surface etched with the same runes that adorned the monoliths. Clara's discovery in the Whispering Woods marked the beginning of a chilling journey, one that would unravel the mysteries of Eldritch Hollow and confront the darkness that lurked in its heart. But the artifact was more than just a key to the past. It was a beacon that had awakened the forces that slumbered beneath the hollow, forces that were now aware of Clara's presence, watching her every move with unseen eyes. The story of Eldritch Hollow and Clara's quest to uncover its secrets is a tale of ancient curses, spectral guardians, and the thin veil that separates our world from the realms of the unseen. It is a journey that treads the boundary between light and darkness, a journey that has only just begun. And so, the tale of the echoes of Eldritch Hollow waits, shrouded in the mists of the Whispering Woods, its chapters yet to be written, its secrets yet to be revealed. In the days following her encounter at the stone circle, Clara found herself drawn deeper into the mysteries of Eldritch Hollow. The artifact she had discovered became both her guide and her curse, its runes pulsing with a foreboding light whenever she neared a hidden truth or an unseen danger. The townsfolk, once merely reserved, now regarded her with a mix of fear and suspicion. Whispers followed her through the narrow streets of Eldritch Hollow. Whispers that spoke of a darkness awakening. A darkness that Clara had inadvertently stirred from its slumber. Determined to uncover the truth, Clara sought out the oldest and most reclusive inhabitant of the hollow, a woman known only as the Crone, living on the outskirts of town, shrouded in rumors of witchcraft and communion with the spirits. The Crone was said to possess knowledge of the hollow's secrets that no other living soul knew. The Crone's home, a dilapidated cabin nestled in the thickest part of the Whispering Woods, was surrounded by an air of palpable unease. Strange symbols were carved into the trees that bordered her land. Symbols that seemed to watch Clara with unseen eyes as she approached. Inside, the cabin was a labyrinth of ancient relics, books bound in strange leathers, and jars filled with unidentifiable substances. The air was thick with the scent of herbs and the weight of untold stories. The Crone, a figure both frail and imposing, regarded Clara with eyes that seemed to pierce through to her very soul. Without a word, the Crone took the artifact from Clara, her gnarled hands tracing the runes with a reverence that belied her age. She spoke of a prophecy, one that foretold the coming of a stranger who would awaken the heart of the hollow. A force so ancient and powerful that it had been sealed away beneath the stone circle, its power too great for the world of the living to contain. The Crone warned Clara of the Guardians, spectral entities bound to the heart, their sole purpose to protect it from those who would seek to awaken its power. These Guardians, once the protectors of the hollow, had been twisted by the centuries of their vigil, their forms now as malevolent as the force they guarded. As Clara stood encircled by the looming Guardians, the artifact in her hand thrumming with an energy that seemed to resonate with the very heartbeat of Eldritch Hollow, the air around her grew thick with anticipation. The Guardians, their forms barely discernible in the swirling mists, moved with a purpose that was as ancient as the hollow itself, their intentions shrouded in the depths of time. The runes on the artifact began to glow with an intensity that cast eerie shadows across the stone circle, illuminating the ancient monoliths with a spectral light. Clara, her resolve fortified by the knowledge imparted by the Crone, knew that the moment of reckoning was upon her. The heart of the hollow, buried beneath centuries of silence, was calling out to her, its voice a whisper on the wind that spoke of power, of secrets, and of the thin veil that separated worlds. As the Guardians converged upon her, their forms shifting and twisting in the darkness, Clara could feel the pull of the heart, its energy coursing through the artifact and into her very soul. The ground beneath her feet began to tremble, the ancient stones of the circle vibrating with a force that threatened to tear the fabric of reality asunder. In the midst of this chaos, Clara heard the voices of the townsfolk, their chants rising from the edges of the Whispering Woods, a chorus of fear and hope that mingled with the howls of the wind. The people of Eldritch Hollow, drawn by the power unleashed in the heart of the forest, had come to witness the fulfillment of the prophecy, their fates intertwined with that of the stranger who had walked among them. The crone, her figure emerging from the shadows, joined Clara in the center of the circle, her presence a beacon of ancient knowledge in the darkness. Together, they faced the Guardians, their combined wills a challenge to the forces that sought to keep the heart of the Hollow shrouded in mystery. As the artifact reached its zenith of power, a blinding light erupted from its core, enveloping Clara, the crone, and the Guardians in a radiance that pierced the veil of night. The ground split open, revealing a chasm that led to the very heart of the Hollow. Its depths, a maelstrom of energy that defied comprehension. Clara, with the crone at her side, stood on the brink of the unknown, the artifact in her hand, the key to unlocking the mysteries that had bound Eldritch Hollow in a grip of fear for generations. The voices of the townsfolk swelled into a crescendo, their fate and that of the Hollow hanging in the balance. The story of Eldritch Hollow, with its ancient rites, spectral guardians, and the enigmatic heart, remains a tapestry of shadows and light, its threads woven from the stuff of legend and the pulse of the unseen. The tale of Clara's journey into the heart of the Hollow, and the fate that awaits her and the town, is a chapter yet to be written. A story that continues to unfold in the whispers of the forest and the echoes of the stone circle. And so, the saga of the echoes of Eldritch Hollow lingers, a tale suspended in the mists of time, its secrets veiled in the shadows of the whispering woods, awaiting the dawn of a new chapter. Our possession was the key, but to what end? Clara could not be certain. The runes glowed brighter as she neared the circle, the air around her charged with a palpable energy that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her own heartbeat. The forest around her, usually alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, fell eerily silent, as if the very woods were holding their breath in anticipation of what was to come. The mist that had always shrouded the whispering woods seemed to thicken, coiling around Clara's feet like a living entity, guiding her path towards the stone circle. As Clara stepped into the clearing, the monoliths of the stone circle towered over her, their ancient surfaces etched with the same runes that adorned the artifact. The air within the circle vibrated with an unseen force, the ground beneath her feet humming with a dormant power that awaited release. The Guardians, once mere whispers in the mist, now took form at the edge of the circle, their spectral figures more defined, more menacing, their eyes, devoid of warmth or humanity, fixed upon Clara with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. They were the keepers of this place, bound to protect its secrets against all who dared to uncover them. Clara, with the crone's cryptic words as her only guide, stepped forward. The artifact held out before her as a shield, a beacon. The runes on its surface began to emit a soft, pulsating light, casting an otherworldly glow on the surrounding stones. The Guardians moved closer, their forms blurring at the edges, as if they were not entirely of this world. Their whispers filled the air, a language forgotten by time, yet understood by the soul. They spoke of thresholds not to be crossed, of balances not to be upset, of a darkness that lay waiting for the unwary. But Clara, driven by a desire for knowledge, for understanding, pressed on. She placed the artifact at the center of the circle, where the earth itself seemed to call out to it. A connection formed, an ancient lock finding its key, and the ground trembled as the latent energies began to awaken. The sky above darkened, the stars blotted out by a roiling mass of clouds that swirled above the stone circle. A bolt of lightning, not of natural origin, but of the energies unleashed by the artifact, struck the center of the circle, enveloping Clara and the artifact in a blinding light. When the light faded, Clara found herself standing at the threshold of two worlds, the boundary between the known and the unknown torn asunder. The heart of the hollow, a nexus of ancient power, lay open before her, its secrets exposed for the first time in centuries. The guardians, their role fulfilled, faded into the mists, their whispers a fading echo in the wind. The townsfolk, who had gathered at the edge of the woods, watched in awe and fear as Clara stood at the brink of discovery, the fate of Eldritch Hollow in her hands. The story of Eldritch Hollow, of Clara, the crone, and the guardians, of ancient secrets and unearthly powers, remains unfinished. A tale paused at the moment of revelation, waiting for the courage to explore the unknown, to continue the journey into the heart of the mystery. And so, the saga of the echoes of Eldritch Hollow endures, its next chapter unwritten, its mysteries veiled in the shadows of the stone circle, whispering to those who dare to listen. In the aftermath of the unearthly storm, the stone circle lay silent, the artifact now fused with the earth at its center, a beacon of pulsating energy that illuminated the ancient runes with a ghostly light. Clara, standing at the precipice of the unknown, felt the weight of the hollow's eyes upon her, the townsfolk's mixed fear and wonder, a palpable force in the night air. As the energy from the artifact began to seep into the ground, the earth itself seemed to breathe, a slow, rhythmic pulsation that matched the beating of Clara's heart. The whispering woods, once silent, now whispered with 1,000 voices, the leaves rustling with the secrets of ages. The air around the stone circle began to shimmer, a visual echo of the heat on a summer's day. Yet the temperature was cold, biting. Within this shimmering air, images began to form, ethereal and fleeting, like memories brought to life by the artifact's awakening. Scenes of the hollow's past played out before Clara's eyes. Rituals of power, of sacrifice, the founding of the town, and the dark pacts that had sealed its fate. But as the visions grew clearer, so too did the sense of foreboding that hung over the hollow. The ground beneath Clara's feet cracked, a web of fissures spreading from the stone circle into the heart of the forest, as if the very land was breaking apart under the strain of the unleashed power. From these fissures, a thick, black mist began to rise, coiling around the stones, obscuring the ethereal visions with its opaque tendrils. The This mist was not of the natural world. It pulsed with a malevolence that seemed ancient, primal, a darkness that the light of the artifact could not penetrate. The townsfolk, their initial awe turning to horror, retreated from the edge of the woods, their whispered prayers a futile shield against the creeping dread that spilled from the stone circle. The crone, her face a mask of sorrow and resignation, remained at Clara's side, her voice a steady presence in the chaos. The heart has awakened, she murmured, but so too has the darkness it was meant to contain. The guardians, thought to have faded into the mists, reappeared at the edge of the circle, their forms more defined, more corporeal, as if the rising darkness had given them substance, their eyes now glowing with an inner fire fixed upon Clara, a silent challenge, a warning of the battle to come. Clara, her resolve tested as never before, stood her ground, the artifact's energy coursing through her, a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. The battle for Eldritch Hollow, for the soul of the Whispering Woods, was about to begin. A battle that would determine the fate of the Hollow and all who dwelled within its shadow. The story of the echoes of Eldritch Hollow, of Clara, the crone, and the guardians, of ancient powers and primal darkness, remains a tale of suspense, its climax yet to be revealed, its ending yet to be written. The Hollow waits, its secrets shrouded in the mist, its heart beating in time with the unseen forces that vie for control of its destiny.